There's something in the air.
Hello, Erpers. Welcome back to There's Something in the Air, a spoiler-filled Winona Earp podcast where we ride the Earpsplane train and talk about all things Erper. I think that's been the first time I've remembered that since episode 2.
Well done. I'm applauding you in my head.
I'm really impressed.
Thank you. Today we are covering episode 112, which is called
House of Memories.
House of Memories.
How ironic that you didn't remember that.
That is actually par for the course of late. And it's the one where some things happen. Who has feelings about those things? Oh yeah, this is BP.
This is Monica.
And this is Michelle.
And we all three managed to make it on today despite some annoying technical issues on my end. So anyway.
Michelle and I had a really in-depth conversation about Supercorp instead while BP was working out her technical issues. So she was forced to deal with those and listen to us. Poor thing.
Oh yeah, no, I was 100% into it. The audio issues, I mean.
The laundry list of fanfics that we started recommending and talking about.
I was lost. You lost me at Super.
I was like, this is my favorite one, Michelle. Nope, can't read it. All right, great. Anyway, that'll be a separate episode, not about Winona Earp.
So a lot of shit happened in this. It's like I start recording and then Opal's like, "Wait, I'm like she's actually climbing on the desk right now." Do you want to say hi? No, you just want to. Okay, she's just punching me. So Will is a bitch.
That's correct. Willa
True story.
wins the That Bitch Award this week. Just gonna get that right there out of the way.
I think that Willa wins the That Bitch Award for this season.
I think you're probably right.
Like, she's so horrible. And absolutely complete, like before she gets her memories, like at the beginning with Whiskey Jim, where she just like completely goes apeshit at the end, and Winona's just kind of like, whoa, that's a lot.
Yes. And this was before she, when she was in the treehouse, you could kind of see when all of her memories came back, and you kind of saw a flip being switched. Sure, Monica. A switch being flipped, where she went from she's kind of a dick, to, holy shit, she's a borderline, sociopath. She doesn't care about anything except for Bobo, maybe, but not really, and herself entirely.
I think the actress is Natalie Krill, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
She does a really fantastic job with that transition, I think.
I agree.
Like, the first time I watched the episode, I, noticed that something was off, but, not quite what it was until we, get to the party, and she's just like, everybody fucking drink all of this champagne.
And then she puts it down. You think her behavior's a little off, but you're also like, she spent 12 years in a cult, so, whatever. Maybe she just doesn't know how to socialize. But then you rewatch it with knowledge, and you're like, oh shit, she knew what she was doing all along, and she was trying to kill her sisters and everybody.
I don't know. Also, there's a massive issue with, Bobo and Willa's relationship on, every level.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's, some serious Stockholm Syndrome bullshit.
Amplified.
Yeah, it's just so extreme, and the fact that they're quote unquote in love just makes my skin crawl. Just even the thought of it, it's just horrible. But yeah, no, Willa's the fucking worst.
She is, but I also find her to be an extremely compelling, interesting character. I think that there's an argument to be made here with her for nature versus nurture, not entirely, but partially, and I really, really hope we see her again. I'm not saying she's the worst. I'm not saying she won't always be that bitch anytime she steps into a room. But I just think her character is so fascinating.
Why do you think that we'll see her again? You've been bringing that up a lot lately.
I said that I hope we do. I don't think that we will. I hope that we
Oh.
do.
Well, anything's possible in purgatory.
That's why.
Except for somebody dressing appropriately for the weather.
That's correct.
That's, yes, certainly would not happen. I like how, like, Winona is, like, completely bundled up, and, like, Waverly is bundled up, like, when they're in, like, their dresses and whatnot. And then, like, Willa and Bobo, like, Willa's not even, like, remotely cold. She's just in her dress, just walking down the street in the middle of the night like it's no big deal.
Didn't you say last week that only, one person can't, only like a certain amount of people can be dressed appropriately for the weather? Well, Willa drew the short straw.
She had to be freezing her ass off.
Can I also say that I think that that umlaut line is one of the most underrated lines of the entire series. It's what, like, I feel like a walking umlaut. I love that. I really like punctuation jokes, because that's the kind of person that I am.
I remember when this episode aired, I feel like, at least like my little corner of Twitter, everybody lost their shit over the umlaut joke.
No, I agree. But it's not one that necessarily gets, like, repeated now, I just love it. If you want to get me, it's the punctuation jokes. That is the way to my humor heart. So, random question. We still don't know what the fuck was in that champagne, right?
Nope.
Peaches.
Like, it looks like manufactured kryptonite.
Yeah. Yeah, it like
I guess we know who made it. I really like this episode. I thought it was really good. But, like, there are a lot of, I don't want to say plot holes. There are a lot of leaps of faith that we as the audience have to take. Like, sure, Doc Holliday was tied up in the basement of Shorty's watching a crazy man poison all of these random people, and he's disgusting and he's gross. He throws a knife and stabs the dude through the head, alright, sure. Runs wherever, grabs his tuxedo, cleans up, and is to the party in like an hour.
I mean, it's Doc Holliday. If anyone could do it, it'd be him.
I honestly thought what was more jarring was Willa and Waverly's like transformation through the beginning of this episode. Like all of a sudden they're like, let's be sisters, but then it transitions back. It was jarring is the only word that I have for that.
I think that Waverly is just trying so hard because she feels like she has to.
Well, you can see, like, when she's trying so hard, and, like, Willow, like, redressing her gunshot graze and being just a giant bitch to Nicole. And, like, you can see her just, like, biting her tongue and being like, she was in a cult for so long.
Couldn't call her
like,
dad.
She didn't call her dad. She didn't do anything. Like, she was just there, and it sucked. But then, at the same time, like, human decency?
Yeah, they don't have human decency in the cult? You didn't learn that?
But the thing was, when she was Eve and she was in the cult, like, she was so not this raging bitch.
You're right. She was very kind to Winona.
And then she left the cult, and now she just, like, has, like, I mean, she basically has the personality of a sociopath who just doesn't understand anything. And then, like, you can see when, like, Waverly hits her breaking point with the whole, Winona didn't tell me you were, gay. And Waverly's just like, oh, fuck this, and goes off about the beam thing, and then later feels bad about, like, sharing her emotions.
I just think she's, I don't disagree. Like, I think Willa, in general, her character, especially at the beginning of the episode, is jarring, because she goes almost back and forth between Eve and the Willa that we know that she is. Like, she tries to be nice at some points in time, and other times she's just, like, the worst. It says a lot, too, like, Waverly's overlooking her being a giant bitch to her girlfriend. I don't know. It was a lot. I did think it odd that they have this giant fight, although I guess Waverly, goes after her because she thinks she ran away again. Decided to bring her shotgun, because why wouldn't you bring that when you go looking for your sister?
That was not a shotgun, was it?
Wasn't it?
Thought it was more like a rifle.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know the difference.
Here we go with the guns again.
She brings a gun. You just please edit out my types of gun ignorance out of this, BP. That would be great. Thanks.
I wasn't trying to be a dick, sorry.
It just comes naturally.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just like my natural state of being.
Anyway,
Much like Willa.
so I'm saying, like, Willa's upset, she runs off. Waverly, I think, is like, oh, fuck, here we go again. Like, I can't stand this person, but she's my sister, so I need to go try and find her. Brings her gun, which I guess is good. And then they go, like, they go play, you know, Woodland Princess. And, and, like, roam around in the forest. Okay. Also, this brings me to another point. I think Willa needs to go see an optometrist. So there's nothing around, right? It's all flat. She wanders up to the fence line, you know, to the end of the Earp property. Bobo wasn't hiding. How could he have hidden? There's nothing around. And then she jumps when he shows up. Like, bitch, could you not see 10 feet in front of you? You had to get there until you were 2 feet? And then they're wandering around in the reservoir, and same thing, like, no, I don't see anything it could be. Oh, except for that giant motherfucking treehouse right in the middle of nowhere that's suddenly right in front of me. That I see. Like, what the hell?
I was surprised when she jumped because, like, I assumed that she was just walking to Bobo because, like, there's this weird draw for some fucked up reason. I have so many questions about that fucking treehouse.
Right? Suspension of disbelief. We're really being asked to just take a lot on faith here.
Like, it's like a really nice looking house up in a tree that doesn't look like it's like structurally strong enough to support it. And then how do you get up there? Was there like an elevator or like a big like ladder that I was missing? Like,
I don't think there was an elevator in the treehouse, Michelle.
no, I know, but I'm
Can't
saying
run
like,
power to that from the generator.
I mean,
It's like the Keebler elves.
I didn't mean like an Anyway, how did they get up there? Because I didn't see anything. There was like a skinny ass tree trunk, and then this really elaborate looking tree, like house in a tree.
I bet the ladder was on the other side.
Ain't nobody got time for climbing.
I don't think... Like, I just picture Bobo going up to, I don't know, like, Craterman and being like, I want you to build me a tree house. Like, he said he wanted to throw him a party. And the house is there, and he's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to get in it? And he's like, well, you didn't tell me you wanted a ladder. You just said a house.
That was the one thing that like bothered me every single time because I get it, but also it was just like this tree house is so fucking high and like up a tree, and like it's just like there's not any way to get up there.
The stairs
Okay.
are on the other side. We just can't see them. Boom.
Maybe they didn't actually get up there and it was like really just a room somewhere because that would support unlike the actual tree, that would support your theory that it was not capable of sustaining such a structure.
There's really a lot to unpack here with this treehouse that no one noticed in 15 years, but was literally in the middle of nowhere. It's fine. It's all fine.
Well, I mean, clearly the cult didn't have vision insurance, so there's that.
Clearly.
One other thing, this is like purgatory weather watch type situation. Like, they treat the barn on the Earp property like it's some sort of insulated building, but like you can literally see through the walls. like there's a bed in there. Like, who the fuck is getting frostbite out there? And then like Nicole and Waverly are like undressing each other, and I'm like, I get that you're having a moment, but like it's got to be fucking freezing.
First of all, Waverly Earp is never cold.
That's true.
That's very true.
But, like...
And Nicole is a werewolf, so it's fine.
Or an angel. Or...
I mean, just pick something.
All I know is that she's in like a big, comfy looking sweater, and then she's just... Because like that would be weather appropriate.
Doc, I mean, I guess all those years in the well made him impervious to cold. Because that's where he sleeps, isn't it?
I don't know.
I mean, the generator's in there, so there could be some heat going on.
I'm pretty sure that Waverly and Nicole were gonna have sex for the first time on Doc Holliday's bed in a drafty barn. Sure.
I don't understand what you think is unreasonable about that.
I am allergic to hay. I guess I just can't put myself in that situation. I feel like that I would have an allergy attack if I tried to do that.
Well, this was more of a hey girl situation.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We've officially reached the bottom of the well.
Well, actually, I think we probably haven't. I'm sure we can get worse. Don't worry.
Let's persevere. We can do this.
I mean, it could get worse. Maybe someday. Michelle's just putting another pin into her voodoo doll of me.
That's exactly what I'm doing, yeah. Did you not feel that?
Yes, I did, actually. So, we're hopefully nobody wanted, like, linear discussion, because that is definitely not happening.
Speaking of the treehouse, my favorite line in this was with in Waverly and Willa's moments of deciding they were going to be sisters, which was very confusing to me. When Waverly said, "I'm sorry I called you a bitch," in my head. And I was like, first of all, let's put a pin in that.
Yes.
Don't get ahead of yourself. But only Waverly would like apologize for something she didn't actually do.
I loved that. I loved it. I think that's another one of those lines that, again, like when it happened, like everybody lost their shit over it, but it's not one of those ones that keeps getting repeated. And I just think it's really good.
Yeah, that would be a good gif. But I just thought that it was funny because it also points out on a deeper level that Waverly did absolutely nothing wrong. So she like had to come up with something to apologize for.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like Waverly is just trying so hard because, like, she doesn't like Willa, and she feels guilty about not liking her, like, long-lost sister. But, like, that sister is a raging bitch.
She really is. In so many ways, and especially to Waverly.
I really love, too, the way that Waverly... Like I know that Waverly's been with Willa the most, so it would be easier for her to notice, like, the sudden change in Willa. But I love that she, like, trusts her instincts and is like, maybe don't give her Peacemaker. Like, that doesn't seem like a great idea. But Wynona's so caught up in the fact that, like, she doesn't think that she's the heir. And she's so caught up, like, with that in her head that she isn't noticing anything. She is just so fucking oblivious.
Yeah, also Doc is missing, presumed dead. So that's another thing they have to deal with. But Willa in this episode really starts broadening her spectrum of like who she's trying to remove Winona from or isolate her from, and like really goes after dolls.
And you know, we all have issues with dolls, certainly, but like what she's doing isn't cool at all. I also have issues with how Dolls and Winona's relationship has progressed just in this episode, but I feel like I've beaten that dead horse for the last 6 episodes, so I'm just gonna say that and we can leave it if we want to.
Yeah, I have a lot of issue with their dynamic overall.
Overall, and especially in this episode, you know, so much of it has felt like we've hit fast forward and skipped over some things that I feel like I'm missing, but this episode it was like 8 times fast forward.
Yeah, I feel the same way about season 2 though.
No, I agree.
It's like Doc disappeared and, like, Doll all of a sudden was just, like, completely, like, swooning over Winona. And I don't know if, like, that was just simmering under the surface for a while. But, like, Winona's so obviously, like Doc comes back and they're, like, all over each other. And, like, Dolls is just kind of like, well, fuck. But, like, the fact that they kissed, it seemed like we missed a huge chunk of their relationship because it seemed way too quick.
And it wasn't just that they kissed. I mean, Winona kissed him. And was it just because he punched a guy in the heart? Is that all it took for her? You know, that's where we almost see her switch flip, I think, with her.
It could also be something along the lines of, like how Waverly kisses Rosita in season 2, or it's just kind of like a in the moment, like emotionally confused, or like Winona's emotionally struggling, so it might just be easier to latch onto that instead of having to face like the facts that Doc is presumably dead or he's gone. And like she's struggling with this air stuff, so maybe it's easier to just distract herself with dolls than it is to actually sit down and like look at what's actually bothering her.
I'm not saying she doesn't actually care about him, but I do think that it's also been pretty well established, or at least you can make the leap, that she uses anything sexual as a distraction. Because, I mean, think about, when she went out with her hair porn. Like, even though they kind of, like, retrofitted that, I mean, she's out, like, flirting with anyone. Like, it's just a way that she uses to cope.
And I definitely think she does that, but I don't think that, especially in season 2, the show is acknowledging that. Like, they're not acting like she did this as a, Doc is missing and she's feeling vulnerable and she feels like she's not the heir and Dolls just punched a guy in the heart, and they're not treating it like a surge of emotions. They're treating it like a legitimate love triangle. And I just don't know at this point in time that I see that or that I buy it.
I don't get the love triangle aspect, yeah, because like
Oh, totally. I don't
Dolls
buy
is the
it.
only person in the episode who's like supporting her and is like kind of like backing her up and is like, yeah, you're struggling with this, but like I would have no one else be my partner, this and that, and being supportive. So I could see how like in emotional, like in the moment, like you're here for me, so like I'm gonna kiss you. But the actual love triangle part, it doesn't seem earned at all.
Like I said, a lot of leaps of faith in this episode. That's like the one thing that I'm having a lot of trouble with, and I do through the end of season 2. Whatever. It's not enough to make me angry or distract me or what have you, but I'm just not. I just don't buy it. And I think part of it too, like I care so much about Winona as a character. Like I don't care who she's with or if. Like I don't. Some shows you watch that and I feel like a partner or like a love story like that really enhances a character and your enjoyment of them in the show, and I just don't think she needs that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine if Winona wasn't in a relationship. I think she's dynamic enough and interesting enough without having to add that in. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not like a breaking point for me. I really loved that dolls can hypnotize people.
Where did he learn that?
Kandahar.
Of course.
Everything goes back to Kandahar.
It's just an innate dragon trait.
If he had said, "Look into my eyes," and they like glowed his dragon eyes, that's what I was hoping for. And maybe we just missed it, but I looked, I didn't see it.
That would have been awesome. I love that they call back to Malcolm, that piece of shit.
I agree. I thought that was a really nice callback. I was a huge fan of that. And I like that Winona says she was glad that he was the first one that she killed, because she's right. He was a dick in 3/4.
Was that the same actor?
He just looked really different because he didn't have the eye patch.
Oh, yeah, gotcha, yeah. I was just kind of taken aback. I was like, wait a minute, is that the same dude?
I am gonna start using "I was rude again, wasn't I?" in like if I just decide to be a jerk, I'm just gonna be a jerk and then be like, "Oh, I was rude again, wasn't I?" And just be like, "Oh, my bad." Like I think I'm gonna try and adopt that into part of my personality. I really liked when she said that. It made me laugh.
There's some gifts in this episode that like don't, or gift opportunities that are not used.
Yes, I agree. I need to learn how to gif, and then maybe gif this entire episode. I think we see a real difference between Willa and Winona in the beginning, in the scene with Whiskey Jim or Bourbon Bob, whatever name you want to use, Whiskey James if you're being formal. Like Winona tortures him, I think, because and inflicts pain because she feels like that's the best way she's going to get something out of him, and Willa really seems to enjoy it.
Yeah, like Willa was all about hurting him, just for the sake of hurting him.
Yes, just to be a dick.
Like she didn't really try to get information. She just like went off on a rant and then it was like, "I'm gonna murder you now."
My girl likes her torture. I mean, whatever.
Did you guys notice, though, that, like, the earth didn't swallow up and envelop him? Because I guess he was in a chair. He just disappeared. He just faded away.
Sometimes visual effects are difficult.
We all know the budget has been used up at this point.
They had already allotted it for the last episode. I don't know if you noticed, but when, like, Willow was shouting at him, like, Bourbon Bob, or whatever the hell, I think she said whatever the hell your name is, but she definitely said whatever the fuck your name is. Like, if you look at her mouth, she most definitely 100% said that.
I'm gonna have to go back and look. And then Sci-Fi was like, ADR a different word in, please.
Didn't they use the word fuck in season 2? Like, once?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say I figured that they wanted to save it for like a really impactful moment, and it had to be Winona.
When does she say it?
It's towards the end.
In the finale, she's like, "We're gonna break this fucking curse" or something right around those
Oh,
lines
sweet.
to Doc
Oh, okay, yeah.
for their kid.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna break this fucking curse so she doesn't ever have to do this.
That's a pretty good moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not sci-fi. They do it on The Expanse all the time.
What channel is that on?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
And the
Oh.
Magicians. The
Sorry, I
Magicians-
misunderstood what you said, I guess.
That's what I meant. On The Expanse, they put it like in the actual like later, but you're right. It's on The Magicians that they say it like all
The
the
Magicians-
time on live.
Like, I relate to them because they drop the F-bomb constantly.
So much, and it's beautiful.
So I really liked when Winona went to talk to Dolls and just casually drops that Doc is missing. And Dolls is like, he didn't go missing, you gave him a car. But she's worried about him, and whether she knows it or not, she wants Dolls to look into it. She'd never admit it. But I thought the most interesting part about that scene to me was how Dolls, for all of his dislike of Doc, really has a handle on him. He knows Doc Holliday would never send mercenaries after him. He would kill him himself if he wanted him dead. And I thought also, like, you know, as they're talking, Nedley comes in, and you really see a change with how Winona deals with Nedley. You obviously see their relationship grow through the end of next season, but even here, like, this is kind of where she treats him a little differently. She teases him, but it's not as mean-spirited.
No, it's not mean-spirited at all, and I think, like, you can start to see the relationship grow, and, like, I think they really do earn the line in season 2, "Give me back my Nedley."
Yes.
Next episode, I think, is, like, the biggest turning point for them.
Yes.
I really like that, like, Kreiderman is like he's trying to kill himself, and so he like sets up a noose, and they stop him, and he was just like, "Oh wait, I have a gun in my back pocket." Like, which of those two things was easier? Also, this show continues to prove that Angie, who used to not listen to our podcast, was right about how like gory this show is.
Yes.
Like, there's, like, a lot of skin peeling and self-stabbing and, like, blowing one's brains out.
And throwing up, which I found more disturbing than the guy stabbing himself. Graham, do not walk on my keyboard.
I hate throwing up, dude. I hate that.
I think that might actually have been the grossest part, because I didn't really find... I mean, I guess the, like, skin peeling thing was a little bit off-putting, but...
A little bit off-putting.
My filter is, or my standards are pretty shitty.
So the Big Bubba or whatever reminded me of Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And then when the lady was peeling off her skin, it reminded me of Hannibal. I think that was the name of it. Not the TV show. The movie sequel they made where Julianne Moore was Jodie Foster.
Yes.
Is that right? Like, it just occurred to me, so I didn't actually look it up. But he had made this woman, like, cut the skin off of her face and feed it to pigs, I think? And they showed it, and I was like, I can't believe I just paid $15 to see this movie. This is disgusting.
That in Hannibal? I never saw that one.
Oh. But anyway, dude reminded me of Buffalo.
It's even better in the show. Just throwing that out there. The show's phenomenal.
I haven't. It's on my list.
It's on Prime, as far as I know.
Sweet. Maybe I'll start watching that.
Why do you think he wanted it in the Wainwright? Why do you think Bobo wanted the party in the Wainwright? Maybe I could use, like, actual words instead of pronouns.
I feel like probably location-wise, because it didn't seem to be in downtown so much. Maybe it's just, like, get all of, like, the townsfolk over in one corner, put all the revenants in shorties, and then just have, like, the setting to have their casual stroll down the street to close out the episode.
That actually makes a lot of sense. All right, I'll take it.
Or maybe he just thought Kreiderman was incompetent,
Also accurate.
so he had to pick the locale because he would have gotten somewhere dumb.
So, one note that I had about the barn scene was in all caps, Willa, you manipulative bitch. And I feel like that's something that hasn't changed since she was a kid. And she was like, oh, but I know I made you almost kill yourself when you were 4, but I never told anybody. And she thinks that makes her a good sister. What the fuck?
Yeah, when Waverly won, like, Ward was such an abusive ass. And then the fact that Willow, like, Willow, it's like everything is transactional for her. So it's like, oh, I got this dirt on you, so now I'm gonna hold that against you and force you to do either something dangerous or do, like, my bidding.
Yeah, because she even started like a kind of blackmail with like, oh, you haven't told her yet, like about Winona. And it was like, dude, what do you want?
And then, like, insinuating that Winona wouldn't be okay with it. Like, bitch, please.
Yeah, you literally don't know us, but okay. I would just like to say again, like, she and Bobo is so gross on so many levels.
You're right. It's awful and terrifying and disgusting. And it also makes sense within the confines of the show.
Oh, absolutely. I just,
Like, I'm not saying it's not, 17 3/4 ways of fucked up. But it makes sense.
And that's the thing that this show does well. They'll go there. But they're gonna do the story well if they're gonna go there. And I think that they did.
I remember watching the next episode and thinking, my god, this is the most fucked up relationship I've ever seen. But Bobo really seems to care for her.
and she doesn't care about him, which is like the best part. Because it like truly proves how sociopathic she is.
I think that she cares about him second most of all of the people and all of the things. Like, I think she cares about herself and Peacemaker. That's number 1. And then, like, 5 feet below that is Bobo.
Sure, but it just kind of shows that she doesn't have the capacity for that anyway.
No, I agree.
And we're gonna talk about this a lot in the next episode because we finally get like the full story for the most part. But like, it's like I think it's a byproduct. Like nothing excuses her being horrible because like even if that's like a byproduct of the environment like you grew up in, like you're still horrible. Like she was fed lies or not lies, but like trained to believe that like the world fucked her over and like that she deserves to like end the world just because of that. So like it makes sense like what she does. It's just like her sociopathic tendencies are like off the rails.
How different would she have been if she hadn't been kidnapped? And that that's a loaded question because she was already showing those tendencies when she was with Waverly especially. But how much of it was compounded, enhanced, encouraged from being locked up in a treehouse that was very, visible in the middle of nowhere, yet nobody managed to find her. By being there, it's an interesting thought and it's an interesting concept. She is a fascinating character, horrible but fascinating.
Well, that event though has like determined who everybody on the show is essentially.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I know it's to take her out of that would to take away the whole concept of the show.
I'm a huge fan of what the hell is the chemist's name?
Big Bubba.
Big Bubba. His like he's like a Doc Holliday fanboy.
He's the original Jeremy.
Absolutely insane, but such a fanboy.
And then he like puts on his hat. I thought I was amused by that.
If I were Doc, I like wouldn't really want to put that back on my head after that guy wore it.
I thought the same thing.
I'm like, it's just get a new hat.
He does eventually. Maybe that's why the Holodemon ate it. It tasted so good from being on Bubba's head.
Yeah, the show is gross. Another thing is like Doc throwing a knife through Bubba's head.
Yes. Doc Holliday is at his, well, I guess he's in his most entertaining in every episode. I don't know. I really enjoyed him. From all of his interactions with Bubba, where he's just trying to figure out a way to get the hell out and being extremely charming, and then kills him. Well, doesn't kill him because he's a revenant. And then, does his quick change into a tuxedo that obviously he had with him in the well. And then watching him react to Dolls and Winona kissing. It was a lot for him, and very fascinating to watch. And Tim Rosen did such a good job. Obviously, he always does. All of them do a good job every day, all the time.
I think it was also interesting how when he was trying to find a way out of, his captivity, but he also was like, let me gather as much intel as I can. Because, my life is his life is in danger, but he also is like, well, I got, Juan Carlos said I gotta help Winona out, so I may as well try to get as much intel as possible. I think we need to talk about Champ.
I was just going to say that. Excellent. Go. Let's talk about Champ. I love talking about Champ. He's my favorite subject.
Yowzers.
Won his tuxedo t-shirt.
I own a tuxedo t-shirt, and I wore it to my rehearsal dinner when I got married, so just watch what you say.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a tuxedo t-shirt. It's just that it's Champ.
It was a Star Wars one. It worked for me. It wasn't like that. Anyway. No, I agree. That was so on brand for him.
Well, no, and just he's sitting there guzzling champagne.
And that's why he was the most affected, right? Because he was the drunkest out of everybody there because he drank the most?
He consumed the most of the poison.
Yeah.
I really love Nedley's reaction when Champ, outs Waverly and Nicole. And Nedley, pauses and is just like, well, whatever, stop being a dick.
I loved that. My note for that is in all caps again, Randy Nedley, you're my hero.
I did like that they kind of spun it around, though. I mean, Champ's an idiot. But that they spun it around that he was jealous about her being a cop and not that he was just some homophobic prick.
Although he did say that they were disgusting.
Yeah, but I still just think he was emasculated.
I think the biggest thing is that he felt emasculated because he has, the biggest fucking ego, even though he's the giant dumbass. And, the fact that, he got dumped for someone who was a cop when apparently that was his, aspiration is probably the biggest factor. And he, might not be the biggest, homophobic jackass that, he comes off as. But it was, a way to insult them because they hurt him.
No, I agree with everything. He's more concerned about the fact that Waverly's with a cop now, not the fact that she's with a woman. But when he called them disgusting, I remember watching it the first time and having such a physical reaction to it. It made me anxious and nauseous and angry. And I felt that when I watched it again, an hour ago. Whether he's a raging homophobe or not, at least in that scene, in that tiny little part, they portray him that way. And I think that's important to see because, I still run into that in my everyday life. And it's good for people to realize that is a thing that still happens sometimes to some of us. That people, to myself as a gay woman, I'm in situations where people either say or look, and I can tell they're thinking that I'm gross or wrong. And I was at a thing where that happened to me, and my friend was like, I can't believe, gay marriage is legal. I can't believe, people still think that. But they do, and I thought that it was very good that was portrayed here, because it does still happen. Even if maybe we find out in the next scene that it wasn't everything we thought that it was. And whatever the reasoning behind it, I still love Nicole punching him in the fucking face. I thought that was magical.
Blind his ass.
She just took him
out. At his neck, she was just down, boy.
Loved it. And I bet you thought you were emasculated before.
This is obviously why he can't be a cop. He sucks. I really love, how nobody, expects that Winona's able to dress herself. Like, Dolls buys or gets her a dress, and then Waverly's like, are you gonna be able to find clothes?
He got both of them dresses though. That was kind of adorable.
Yes. Did he get Nicole's dress, or I guess she had to buy her own because she's not Black Badge. I wonder where in Purgatory sells that. Probably not the the feed store or wherever they were. I don't think they have that kind of dress there.
There's probably like a boutique on Main Street.
In Shorty's strip mall.
Yep,
And I like that she had handcuffs in her clutch.
of course she did.
And the look that they exchanged after, I thought was really cute. Where Waverly was like, "Oh, damn, look at you." I enjoyed that.
I really enjoy how like Winona's like unable to walk through the front door of like a purgatory event because she just assumes that like she'll get turned away.
Or was it because she was smuggling in the gun, specifically in this case?
I feel like it was, well, they did say no guns.
Yeah, they weren't allowing weapons.
So I guess that makes sense. Kind of.
And I think they probably assumed that people were going to get searched on the way in. And that's why she asked about security after I love her headscarf. Granny Wine is like the only one of the few Winonas I feel like I could cosplay.
I really appreciated the color contrast of like Winona's dress with like the rest of the room.
And everybody reacting to her. Did you see that one dude? You could see like he mouthed the word wow as she walked by, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, buddy. I agree."
I mean, when she like walked on screen in that dress, my response was wow.
She looked amazing.
I'm surprised. Like I like how Waverly like caught on to Willa being weird, but I was surprised. Well, I shouldn't have been surprised, but when like before getting her memories back, Willa was like afraid of stuff, and now they're like, "Oh, like we have the lead, like you're the lead. They're going to want to take you." And she, like we need to get you to safety, and she's like, "Fuck no, I'm going to party."
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the whole weird thing about that conversation that kind of left me a little bit confused at the stakes was like, they have to go willingly, and still this is the biggest deal ever. And I'm like, well, I mean, your sister's a piece of crap, so yeah, but so I don't know if they thought like, assuming she's good, if they thought somebody was like gonna get tortured or they would use somebody against her or whatever, but I thought that was really a disconnect for me.
Yeah, the having to go willingly thing, like the only thing that I could think was like, if they captured one of her sisters, but like Willa doesn't give a shit about her sisters, but like let's pretend she does.
Right.
But that would be like, let's all get to safety. Like, let's hunker down somewhere.
Let's all literally leave the Ghost River Triangle for 24 hours.
And I think there are different there are different ways to look at the word willingly. Like, I think Winona would go willingly if it was cross the border with Bobo, or he's going to kill Waverly. She'd be willing to do it then. So I can see why they would want to get Willa away, but yeah, you're right. Like, everybody should disappear. Like, let's go to that spa in the mountains, which was, I guess it was in the Ghost River Triangle, so never mind.
Does it count as willingly if it's under duress?
Nobody, and who decides if it's willingly?
Yeah, like, where are the bylaws of this deal?
Who's the decider? Is it Peacemaker?
The gate, I guess. And like just always changing its mind and doing different things, being contradictory. It's fantastic.
Well, it's like, why did it fail Winona? Like, did it just switch and it was like, oh yeah, Willa, you're totally the heir, and then, like, spoiler alert, next episode, like, it decides that Willa's not the heir, and it's just like, is it just based off of, like, intention? And it's like, that's not very heir-like of you, fuck off.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, when Winona tried to shoot the Revenant and it didn't work, was that before Willa had gotten her memories back? Because, that's the difference between Willa being the heir and just kind of a dick, as opposed to Willa being an heir and a sociopath. I just, the timeline might give us clues on that. No, even how it was presented to us, we don't necessarily know what happened first.
I think they went to the biker bar first.
So, Willa hadn't gone all Willa.
She hadn't gotten her memories back.
Just because, as this episode indicates, this is where the memories are discovered, but only not mine.
Right.
I like how like Waverly must have had some like badass sleight of hand skills to like swap out the guns.
Well, I think too, Willa doesn't pay any attention to her. ever. She just thinks she's useless. So she can get away with a lot. You can get away with a lot when you're invisible to somebody.
Yeah, because she's not a threat.
Well, I was like watching, and I was trying to like see the moment where she like swapped out the guns. I couldn't catch it.
I assumed that it was off screen.
I would have just really liked to see like Spy Waverly.
Tacos are tasty.
She sings and everybody's distracted. She does it behind her back then. I think a really great thing about Dolls that we've seen in the last couple episodes is that he is so good at making the Earp sisters realize who they are and what their value is. He did that with Waverly last episode, and he did that with Winona in this episode. And I think that both of them, not a lot of people have shown them that kind of kindness over the years. And that's just a really, really great thing about him.
Especially for Winona, because like Winona's entire life has just been people shitting on her. And like here Dolls is like, no, like you have value, you have worth, like I wouldn't want anybody else to be my partner. Like it doesn't matter if you have Peacemaker or not, like you're still like a good person. And that's like everything she needed to hear.
And, being the heir was something that Winona never wanted. And she had to do it, and then she discovered she was good at it, and now it's being taken away from her, and she's just in such an awful place. And Dolls really comes through for her there.
I like her internal crisis, because like she like just defined herself as a fuck up for most of her life, and then like she gets forced into the role of being the heir, and it gives her like confidence and purpose that she's never had before. And now, so, like, she finally feels like she's somewhere in life, and then they just yank the rug out from under her. And this is, her just, like, free-falling for a second. And, like, it's kind of cool that Dolls was there to catch her.
But I still see them, at least right now, just as business, workplace proximity associates making their way to friends. I don't immediately see the jump to kissing. I know we talked about this and how Winona handles situations, and I know that that's all a factor, but I don't buy it.
Dolls being all, like, hard eyes at her for, like, part of the episode is what made no sense. Like, what Winona did makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Dolls seems out of character.
Speaking of out of character, not even really, but did you guys notice Bobo's gloves at the end?
What in the actual fuck was that? It looks like he had been, like, cleaning fish.
So they were like opera gloves, but also bondage gloves.
Because they looked like they were just, like, straight up, like, shiny plastic. Like, ugh. And they just didn't go with anything else he was wearing. It was so weird.
The rest of his outfit was, like, amazing. Like, I love his outfit, but those are, like, some, like, Cruella de Vil, like, bondage gloves.
Yeah, those call for fishnet stockings, so I don't even know what he was doing.
We don't know what he was wearing underneath his suit.
I don't know, like, the rest of his outfit I, like, fucking love, but those gloves...
I mean, talk about a bit much.
Like, Bobo's extra most of the time, but this is next
Extra.
level.
Yes.
I just felt like he was actually doing something. Like, was he out, like, stirring that poison before or something? You know what I mean? It's like he had to keep something off of himself, was what it looked like. Like, were you doing dishes and you just, like, forgot to take them off before you got here?
He was washing a car. He just didn't want to, like, the soap to mess up his manicure. Cleaning up where Kreiderman killed himself, maybe, at his bar.
Maybe. I found it interesting, and I wonder if this tipped off, like, Waverly even more when Bobo's giving his little speech, and, like Waverly has, like, a negative reaction to Bobo, and then Bobo gets up in Willa's face, and Willa doesn't look remotely bothered. Like, was that, like, the final, like, point for Waverly where she's like, oh, no, this bitch.
Yeah. No, I agree. 'Cause it wasn't necessarily positive, it was intrigued. I think that's what it was, her reaction was.
Yeah, and it wasn't fear, but they just told her, like, hey, Bobo's gonna try and take you. I don't know. I do like that he calls all the town people that they've been drinking, like, drunken pigs.
I also like how he knows who Champ Hardy is. Like, oh, well, everybody knows him. Look at him.
Just look for the belligerent one. Must be Champ.
Must be Champ. It's not wrong. And again, Willa and Bobo's relationship, totally fucked up, super creepy, awful, Still makes sense in a weird way, and I loved the music that was playing as they walked off. Not into the sunset because it was dark out, but as they walked off together. I loved the music.
Them walking off into the sunset would have been like really off-brand, but them walking off into the night.
Into the darkness.
The lyrics were "a storm is coming," and then I think "a storm is here." I didn't write that part down, but I'm pretty sure. And I just like the actual song, that it felt like it fit with the tone, but then the lyrics, I was like, damn, no shit, a storm is coming.
This show is really good about its music choices. Like the song they play at the end of season 2 just like was like they're just so good at it.
They really are.
Yeah, and who is that? Andrea Higgins? Is she the one that always does that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's great.
Their music selection almost like how well the music they choose fits like what's happening, like almost rivals Person of Interest.
Whoa. High praise.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's that whole reveal about how, Ward was going to go willingly, and then the curse would be broken, and the revenants can scatter, and he has this letter to Robert's vein, and that's Bobo. Like, that was all a lot to digest there in, like, the little couple minutes that it happened.
Well, and the thing, too, is, like, in hindsight, like, I can piece together what everything meant.
Yes.
Like, I got it, it makes sense. But, like, the first time around, like, that had to be, like, completely bonkers and make absolutely no sense at all.
Yeah, it didn't seem important. It just seemed like the message was important. It didn't seem like the delivery was.
It was really well done. And shocking. And then, upon rewatch, made sense.
And didn't they say, like, in the letter, it explained how he got cursed when he killed the demon Clutie?
Yes.
They were just like, hey, season 2.
Yeah, we'll worry about that later. Anything else on this episode?
My one last comment is I love how, like, Willa slipped away because she's like, oh, Waverly's with her girlfriend, peace out. And just, like, sneaks off.
I remember when I watched this the first time, though, like, Winona tells her to get Willa to safety, and she grabs her to go with her, and she talks to Nicole, and I saw, like, people are, like, scurrying, and then you see this woman walking, turns her body, so her back is to the camera, and, like, shuffles very slowly, and then goes, and I was like, I think Willa just disappeared. Like, I know it was supposed to be, at this point in time, something's up with Willa, so you're kind of watching very carefully, but it was, especially upon rewatch, it's, like, so obvious. Like, do-do-do-do-do, turn, shuffle, 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 turn and walk.
I love when shows do that, like, where there's, like, something, like, either, like, important or, like, funny happening in the background. Like, I can think of a few instances on some of my favorite shows, and, like, it's always just, like, the best part of the scene. And I think, like, here, watching her just kind of, like, subtly be like, I think they're distracted. All right, let me just, like, slowly back out of the room.
It's like that Homer Simpson gif. She just gets absorbed into the surroundings.
Yes, into that blonde woman. I think she was blonde. When that one Revenant dude, like, gives Bobo the beer to drink, sip out of the straw, how he tips it and the level of beer, if that were real, it totally would have fallen on him.
I will say this, it is not a good idea. That air with, like, if you want to get drunk super fast, it's actually really good for that, but it's not recommended.
And I just assume that he's drinking, like, Miller Lite or whatever the Canadian equivalent is. I don't think Bobo is, like, super into crap.
I don't know, he's pretty extra.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't feel like shorties. I feel like maybe the highest class they would have on top there is Blue Moon. Or, the Canadian equivalent. I don't know. I'm looking through my notes.
The only note I had was, I'm sorry I called you a bitch, in my head. That was it.
It was a great line.
The only note I took was, what's up with that fucking treehouse? Like, that was all I had.
You were making blueprints in your mind, weren't you?
I was just trying to figure out the logistics of, like, how the fuck that house would be in that tree without it just toppling over. And also, how the fuck do you get up there?
I am super excited for next week. For next week's episode. It's going to be great.
That's a good finale.
It is a great finale. If you guys don't have anything else, I'll wrap us up.
Take it out, my friend.
All right. First of all, we want to say thank you to our amazing artists who've designed the logo in our merch shop. So thank you to Chantal and Sam and BP for designing the logos. If you want to peruse any of our wares, that is at our website, which Michelle can talk about. I've decided.
Herbsplainpod.com. If you click on shop, it'll take you to the store. There's a link to our Patreon there. And there's links to all of our episodes, and all of our contact information that we're about to rattle off will be on there too.
You can also, on our website, become a patron with our Patreon page. Thank you to all of our patrons who support us. We really, really appreciate it and could not do this without you. If you would like to be a patron, go to our website and learn more. If you want to get a hold of us with any feedback about this episode or the finale, you can find us on Twitter at ErpsplainPod. You can email us at somethinginair@gmail.com. If you find us on Twitter, you can also DM us. You can call and leave us a voicemail.
Oh yeah,
678-871. Is that anywhere near right?
yeah.
678-871.
0098.
I was gonna say zero. Well, I was gonna say the last four numbers of Chris's phone number, which are close to that. They start with 00, and I was like, "That's."
Well,
not
it's
right.
remember, it's from Adulting 098, so it's just a 0 and then the
Oh.
098.
Oh well, I had no idea. I didn't realize that. Dirt. Is that all? Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Lesbianzer, where I'm shouting about Winona Earp, or right now, Supergirl. I shout a lot about that.
You can find BP at Beepsplain on Twitter. Lately, I'm sorry, basically all I talk about is the Hyundai. You got a few more weeks of that, and then I'll go back to talking about the Hyundai. No, but I probably have other thoughts that are just rude or sarcastic. That's basically it. Sometimes super deep mental illness threads.
You can find me at McNick1291, where random shit goes up about lots of different TV.
We also have another podcast called The Binge Doctors, and you can find that on Twitter at Binge Doctors, and that is where we talk about other things that we like, not related to Winona Earp. So far, we just have our intro episode, but we are looking to record more of that soon, schedules permitting. Up next here on There's Something in the Air will be a recap of the finale of Season 1, I Walk the Line, where all kinds of ridiculous, crazy shit happens. People get shot, people shoot people, there are fur coats, really just, Winona in her underwear. We see my favorite character of all time, Pete. Super excited about him. Super villain Chrissy Nedley makes an appearance. It's amazing. Really, that is probably one of my favorite core character scenes in the whole series, is when she's like, I chloroformed Waverly. It's Chrissy Nedley. She gives her, it cracks me up. Anyway, well, I'll fangirl about that next week. So that is what we will talk about then. If you like this podcast, you can rate and review us on iTunes. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play. And until then, remember, it may be a shit show, but it's our shit show.